I didn't mean to cry. Crying was weak. Crying was pointless. Crying changed absolutely nothing about the fact that my ribs were screaming, my hands were bleeding, and I had exactly 3 hours before my father came back from patrol to check on my progress. But here I was standing at the industrial sink in the palace kitchens at midnight, tears mixing with dishwater while I tried very hard not to make a sound. The porcelain bowl slipped from my grip and shattered against the metal basin. "Damn it," I whispered, staring at the pieces floating in pink-tinted water. My knuckles had split open again, old wounds that never quite healed because I never gave them the chance. I braced my hands on the edge of the sink and let my head drop forward, shoulders shaking with the effort of keeping quiet. The kitchen was supposed to be empty. Everyone had left hours ago. This was my time, my space to fall apart where no one could see, except I'd forgotten to lock the door. The hinges creaked. My entire body went rigid. "Mrs. Chen, I told you I'd finish." I turned, wiping frantically at my face with my sleeve. 3 figures stood in the doorway. Not Mrs. Chen, the Baek triplets, the Alpha Kings, Minho, Junho, and Soobin. Every single one of them staring directly at me. Oh, fuck. Time seemed to stop. I stood there frozen, with tears still wet on my cheeks and blood dripping from my hands into the sink behind me. They stood in the doorway, equally frozen, like they'd stumbled onto something they weren't supposed to see, which, to be fair, they had. Minho recovered first. He always did. Jiho. His voice was carefully neutral, but his eyes, dark and sharp, tracked every detail. The tears, the blood, the way I was holding my left side like my ribs might crack if I breathed too hard. They might. "Your Highness?" I straightened, ignoring the way my vision swam. I didn't realize anyone else was still awake. Clearly, Junho moved into the kitchen with that predatory grace that made my hindbrain scream danger. "What are you doing here?" "Dishes," I gestured vaguely at the sink. "Someone has to do them." At midnight, it wasn't a question. "I'm very dedicated to my work." "You're crying." Soobin's voice was softer than his brother's, but it still cut through me like a blade. "I'm not." The lie was automatic, even though the evidence was literally still on my face. Something in my eye. "Both eyes?" Minho asked dryly. "I'm very unlucky." Junho took another step closer, and I instinctively backed up. My hip hit the counter, sending a sharp jolt of pain through my side. I couldn't quite suppress the wince. All 3 of them noticed. "You're hurt." Soobin moved toward me, concern clear in his expression. "I'm fine. Your hands are bleeding. Occupational hazard. Dishwashing is a dangerous profession." "Jiho." I said I'm fine. The words came out sharper than I intended, but I was running on approximately 2 hours of sleep and whatever stubborn pride I had left. "I just need to finish up here, and then I'll be out of your way." Minho's jaw tightened. "It's past midnight. Why are you still working?" "Because going back to the staff quarters meant facing my father. Because if I stopped moving, I'd have to acknowledge how much everything hurt. Because this kitchen was the only place in the entire palace where I could breathe." I couldn't say any of that. "I volunteered for the late shift," I said instead. "Extra pay." "You're Daehyun's son." Junho's eyes narrowed. "The head of security. You don't need extra pay." I almost laughed. Almost. "Right, because being related to someone important automatically makes you valuable." How could I forget? The sarcasm was a mistake. I saw it register on Minho's face, that slight tightening around his eyes that meant I'd crossed a line. "Watch your tone, Omega." There it was. Not my name. Not even Gamma's son. Just Omega. A reminder of exactly how little I mattered in this hierarchy. I bit down on my tongue hard enough to taste copper and turned back to the sink. "My apologies, Your Highness. It won't happen again." Silence stretched behind me, thick and uncomfortable. I grabbed another dish, ignoring how my hands were shaking, ignoring the blood that made the porcelain slippery. Footsteps approached. A hand, large, warm, closed around my wrist. I flinched so hard I nearly dropped the plate. "Let me see." Minho's voice was closer now, right behind me. His grip was gentle but firm, turning my hand over to reveal the damage. The cuts weren't deep, but there were a lot of them. Some fresh, some scabbed over, some that had clearly reopened multiple times. My knuckles were a mess of broken skin and bruising. "How long have your hands been like this?" he asked quietly. "I don't know. A while." "Define a while. Does it matter?" "Yes." His thumb brushed across my palm, feather-light, and I jerked away. "Don't!" My voice cracked. "Please don't!" He let go immediately, hands raised in a gesture of surrender. But he didn't step back. None of them did. I was surrounded by alphas, cornered in a kitchen at midnight with tears on my face and blood on my hands, and every instinct I had was screaming at me to run. But there was nowhere to go. "Jiho," Soobin's voice again, soft and careful. "When was the last time you ate?" The question caught me off guard. This morning, breakfast." "That was 16 hours ago." I shrugged. "I've been busy." "You're swaying on your feet." "I'm fine." "Stop saying that," Junho snapped, and there was something sharp in his voice. Anger, maybe, or frustration. "You're clearly not fine. What do you want me to say?" The words burst out of me before I could stop them. That I'm tired, that everything hurts, that I haven't slept properly in 3 days? "Would that make you feel better, Your Highness?" The kitchen went silent. Minho's eyes hadn't left my face. "Roll up your sleeves." My blood turned to ice. "What?" "Your sleeves. Roll them up." "No, that wasn't a request, and I'm not doing it." I took a step back, arms crossing protectively over my chest. The movement pulled at my ribs, and I couldn't quite hide the grimace. Soobin moved to block the door. Junho stepped closer on my left. Minho stood directly in front of me. "We can do this the easy way," Minho said, his voice dropping into that alpha command tone that made my knees want to buckle. "Or we can do this the hard way. Your choice." I looked between the three of them. Identical faces, different expressions. Minho looked determined. Junho looked furious. Soobin looked heartbroken. That last one hurt most. "Why do you care?" I whispered. Minho's expression softened slightly. "Because you're packed, Jiho, even if you don't believe it." My throat closed up. Slowly, with shaking hands, I reached for my left sleeve. The fabric stuck to my skin where sweat and blood had dried together. I peeled it back, inch by inch, revealing what I'd spent months hiding. The scars started at my wrist. Thin white lines crisscrossing like a map of every mistake I'd ever made. Some were old, faded to nearly invisible. Others were newer, still pink and raised. They traveled up my forearm in a pattern that would have been beautiful if it wasn't so ugly, if it wasn't so deliberate. I stopped at my elbow, keeping my upper arm covered. That was worse. That was where the burns were. The silence in the kitchen was deafening. I couldn't look at them, couldn't bear to see whatever expression was on their faces. Pity, probably, or disgust. Maybe both. "Jiho." Minho's voice was strange, tight, like something was choking him. "You wanted to see." I tried to sound casual, unbothered. "There, happy now?" "Happy?" Junho's voice cracked on the word. "You think this makes us happy?" "I don't know what you want from me." "The truth." Soobin moved closer, and I finally looked up. His eyes were bright with something that looked dangerously close to tears. "Who did this to you?" I laughed. The sound came out broken and bitter. "Does it matter?" "Yes." Minho's hand hovered near my arm, not quite touching. "It matters." "Why? So you can feel sorry for the pathetic Omega who can't take care of himself? So you can add me to your list of charity cases? That's not... Or maybe you're worried about the scandal." I was spiraling now, words tumbling out faster than I could stop them. "Can't have damaged goods working in the palace, right? Might reflect poorly on the Baek family name." "Stop." Junho grabbed my shoulders, firm but not painful. "Just stop talking and listen for one goddamn second." I snapped my mouth shut, more from shock than obedience. His eyes bore into mine, dark and intense. "We're not going to hurt you. We're not going to punish you. And we're sure as hell not going to let whoever did this to you get away with it. You can't what? Protect our own pack members? Can't demand answers when someone is clearly being abused?" The word hung in the air between us. Abused. I'd never said it out loud. Never let myself think it in those terms. Because if I admitted it was abuse, then I'd have to admit I was a victim. And victims were weak. Victims couldn't fight back. It's not like that, I whispered. Then what is it like? Soobin's hand was gentle on my other arm, grounding me. Please, Jiho, help us understand. I looked down at my exposed scars, at the evidence written across my skin in permanent ink. I deserved it. The words fell out like stones. Minho made a sound like I'd punched him. What? I'm not a good Omega. I don't submit properly. I talk back. I'm too aggressive, too mouthy, too everything. The excuses felt familiar on my tongue. I'd repeated them so many times they almost felt true. My father was just trying to teach me discipline. The temperature in the kitchen dropped. Your father. Junho's voice was deadly quiet. Daehyun did this. It wasn't a question. I should have denied it. Should have lied, covered, protected him the way I'd been doing for years. But I was so tired. Tired of hiding, tired of making excuses, tired of pretending the man who was supposed to protect me wasn't the one I needed protection from. So I said nothing, and my silence was answer enough. Minho stepped back, running both hands through his hair. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. How long? Does it matter? How long, Jiho? Since I was 14, the confession slipped out. Since I presented as Omega instead of Alpha like he wanted. Soobin made a choke sound. 6 years, Junho said flatly. You've been living like this for 6 years, and no one noticed? People see what they want to see. I rolled my sleeve back down, covering the evidence. My father is respected, trusted, head of security, war hero. Nobody questions him. We're questioning him now. Minho's voice had gone cold, that Alpha authority bleeding through. Where is he? On patrol. He won't be back until dawn. I looked up at them, and something desperate clawed its way up my throat. Please don't tell him I told you. Please. If he finds out I said anything, you're not going back there. Soobin's interruption was gentle but absolute. Not tonight. Not ever. I laughed again, and this time it sounded slightly hysterical. Where exactly am I supposed to go? In case you haven't noticed, I don't have a lot of options. You'll stay in the palace, Minho said. Guest wing, private room, guards on the door. I can't. You can. You will. He moved closer, and his scent wrapped around me like a blanket. Pine and smoke and something uniquely Alpha. No one is going to hurt you anymore, Jiho. I promise. Promises were dangerous things. They broke too easily. You can't promise that. Watch me. The certainty in his voice made something crack open in my chest. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly it physically hurt. What about my father? My voice came out small. He's your head of security. You can't just... Can't I? Minho's smile was sharp and cold. I'm the Alpha King, Jiho. I can do whatever the hell I want. The pack won't understand. They'll think I'm lying. They'll say I'm trying to manipulate you. Then let them talk. Junho's hand was still on my shoulder, steady and warm. We know the truth now. That's all that matters. I wanted to argue, wanted to list all the reasons why this was a terrible idea, why protecting me would only cause problems, why I wasn't worth the trouble. But before I could open my mouth, my knees buckled. Soobin caught me, arms wrapping around my waist as the world tilted sideways. When was the last time you slept? I don't remember. Of course you don't. His voice was fond despite everything. Junho, grab some food from the walk-in. Minho, call Dr. Han. Tell him we need him at the palace immediately. I don't need a doctor. You need approximately 12 things, and a doctor's definitely one of them. Soobin adjusted his grip, and I realized with horror that he was actually picking me up. Stop wiggling. You weigh about as much as a wet paper bag. I'm not wiggling. I'm expressing my displeasure through physical resistance. You're wiggling. Put me down. Absolutely not. Minho was already on his phone, speaking in low, clipped tones. Junho disappeared into the walk-in freezer and emerged with an armful of containers. This was insane. This was all completely insane. 3 Alpha Kings were literally kidnapping me from a kitchen at 1 in the morning, because they'd seen my scars and decided I was worth saving. Me, the disappointment, the failure, the Omega who couldn't even submit properly. This is a terrible idea, I mumbled against Soobin's shoulder. Probably. He adjusted his grip, carrying me toward the door. But we're doing it anyway. My father is going to lose his mind. Good. Minho's voice followed us into the corridor. Let him. The marble floors passed beneath us in a blur of emergency lighting and expensive carpet. I should have fought harder. Should have demanded they put me down, let me go, mind their own business. But Soobin's arms were warm, and I was so tired, and for the first time in 6 years, someone was choosing to protect me instead of hurt me. So I let myself close my eyes, just for a second, just to rest. Except the second stretched into something longer, and when I forced my eyes open again, I was moving through unfamiliar corridors. Not the servants' passages with their narrow walls and dim lighting. These halls were wide, carpeted, lined with artwork that probably cost more than small countries. The guest wing. You're awake, Soobin murmured above me. Thought we'd lost you there for a minute. Takes more than chronic exhaustion and emotional devastation to kill me. My voice came out rough. I'm annoyingly resilient like that. His chest rumbled with what might have been a laugh. Good to know. We stopped in front of a door. Minho was already there, holding it open, phone still pressed to his ear. He nodded at something the person on the other end said, then lowered the phone. Dr. Han is 10 minutes out. His eyes tracked over me, clinical and assessing. Can you walk, or should Soobin carry you inside? I can walk. I squirmed in Soobin's grip. Seriously, put me down before someone sees and gets the wrong idea. What wrong idea? Junho appeared behind us with his armful of food containers. That we actually give a damn about pack members being abused under our own roof? That I'm getting special treatment because I cried in front of you. The staff will talk. They always talk. Then let them. Soobin set me down carefully, hands hovering near my waist like he expected me to collapse. You're not going back to those quarters, Jiho. Not tonight. Not until we figure out what to do about Daehyun. My father's name sent ice through my veins. He's going to come looking for me. I'm counting on it. Minho's smile was sharp enough to cut. Come inside. The guest room was obscene. King-sized bed with what looked like actual silk sheets. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. An attached bathroom bigger than my current living space. Furniture that matched. Artwork on the walls. I stood in the doorway, suddenly aware of how I must look. Dirty uniform, blood-stained hands, tear-streaked face. I didn't belong in a room like this. Jiho, Junho's voice pulled me back. He'd set the food containers on a small table near the windows. Sit, eat. I'm not hungry. Wasn't a question. I opened my mouth to argue, but my stomach chose that exact moment to growl loud enough to wake the dead. Traitor. Soobin grinned. Your body disagrees. My body is a liar and a snitch. Sit, Junho repeated, pulling out a chair. I sat, mostly because my legs were shaking and sitting seemed better than face-planting on expensive carpet. Junho opened containers, revealing food from the palace kitchens. Real food, not the leftovers I usually scrape together. He pushed a plate toward me. Start with this. Roasted chicken, vegetables that actually looked appetizing. Fresh bread that was still warm. I picked up the fork, acutely aware of 3 sets of eyes watching my every move. This is weird. What is? Minho leaned against the wall, arms crossed. This. All of this. You 3 standing around watching me eat like I'm some kind of science experiment. We're making sure you actually do it. Soobin dropped into the chair across from me. You said you haven't eaten since breakfast. That was 16 hours ago. I've gone longer. The words slipped out before I could stop them. All 3 of them went very still. How much longer? Minho's voice was dangerously quiet. I shoved a forkful of chicken in my mouth to avoid answering. It tasted incredible. When was the last time I'd had a real meal? One that wasn't stolen scraps or food so cold it hurt to swallow? Jiho, I swallowed. It varied, sometimes a day, sometimes 2. Depended on whether my father thought I'd earned it. The temperature in the room dropped again. I was starting to recognize that feeling. The way the air got heavier when the alphas were trying very hard not to lose their shit. I'm going to kill him. Junho said it conversationally, like he was discussing the weather. Slowly. Get in line. Soobin's usual gentleness had vanished, replaced by something cold and furious. No one is killing anyone, Minho said, but he didn't sound convinced. We handle this properly, by the law. I laughed around another bite of food. The law, right, because the law has been so helpful up until now. What does that mean? It means pack law protects alphas, especially respected ones, especially ones who've served in the military and saved lives and done all the right things. I set down my fork. My father is untouchable, and everyone knows it. He's not untouchable. Minho pushed off the wall, moving closer. No one is above pack law, not even him. You don't understand. He's careful. He never leaves marks where people can see. Never does it in public. And when people do notice something, I gestured vaguely at my covered arms. He has excuses, training accidents, omega clumsiness, my own fault for being careless. And people believe him? Soobin's voice cracked. Why wouldn't they? He's Daehyun, war hero, loyal servant, devoted pack member. The bitterness in my voice could have poisoned someone. And I'm just his disappointment of a son who can't even present as a proper omega. There's no such thing as a proper omega, Junho snapped. Tell that to my father. A knock at the door interrupted whatever Junho was about to say. Minho moved to answer it, and an older man stepped inside carrying a medical bag. Dr. Han, I assumed. He had kind eyes and gray hair, and the sort of presence that said he'd seen everything and wasn't easily shocked. His gaze found me immediately. This is the patient. Jiho, Minho said. Daehyun's son. Something flickered across Dr. Han's face. Recognition? Surprise? He masked it quickly. I see. What are we looking at? Malnutrition, exhaustion, physical abuse. Minho listed them clinically. Multiple lacerations on his hands, possibly broken or cracked ribs. Unknown extent of other injuries. I can hear you, I pointed out. I'm right here. Dr. Han smiled slightly. So you are. May I examine you? Every instinct screamed at me to say no. To get up, walk out, pretend this wasn't happening. But Soobin's hand found my shoulder, gentle and grounding, and somehow that made it easier. Fine, but can everyone else leave? I don't need an audience. Not happening, all three of them said simultaneously. I looked between them. Seriously? Seriously? Minho's expression left no room for argument. We stay. This is my body, my medical exam. I should get some say in who's in the room. You're right. Soobin squeezed my shoulder gently. You absolutely should, but we're also not letting you out of our sight until we know you're safe. That's called kidnapping. Call it what you want. Junho pulled another chair over, sitting backwards on it. We're staying. Dr. Han set his bag on the table. If it helps, I've seen everything. Nothing you show me will shock me or change my professional opinion of you. Professional opinion, I laughed hollowly. That's a nice way of saying you're already judging me. I'm judging whoever hurt you. His voice was firm. Not you, never you. Something in my chest cracked a little more. The scars are bad, I whispered, not just on my arms. I suspected as much. Dr. Han pulled out gloves, snapping them on with practiced efficiency. Whenever you're ready. I looked at the three alphas watching me with identical expressions of protective fury. At the doctor with his kind eyes and steady hands. At the room that was too nice, too clean, too safe to be real. This was a mistake. This would end badly. My father would find out, and when he did, but maybe, just maybe, it was worth the risk. I reached for the buttons on my shirt. Okay, I said quietly, but if any of you faint, I'm leaving. Soobin's laugh was watery. Deal. I unbuttoned the first button, then the second. The fabric fell away, revealing what I'd kept hidden for 6 years. Dr. Han inhaled sharply. Behind him, I heard something crash. I didn't look. Couldn't. If I looked at their faces, saw whatever expression was there, I'd lose what little courage I had left. The scars on my torso were worse than my arms. Burns from cigarettes formed constellations across my ribs. Long, thin marks from a belt created patterns on my sides. Bruises in various stages of healing painted my skin in shades of purple, yellow, and green. My canvas of failure. Dr. Han's hands were gentle as they hovered near my skin, not quite touching. "May I?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. His fingers pressed carefully against my left side, and I couldn't stop the hiss of pain that escaped. "Fractured rib," he said quietly. "Possibly two. How long ago?" "4 days." My voice sounded distant, disconnected. "Maybe 5. And you've been working this entire time?" "Work doesn't stop just because I'm inconvenient." Behind me, someone was breathing hard. Angry breathing. The kind that came before violence. Dr. Han continued his examination in silence, documenting each injury with clinical precision. His jaw got tighter with every new discovery. When his fingers found the cigarette burns, he paused. "These are deliberate." "Yes." "How many?" I'd stopped counting after 30. "Enough." His hands moved to my back, and I felt him go completely still. That was never good. Nothing good ever came from doctors going still. "Jiho." His voice was carefully controlled. "How did you get these scars on your back? Does it matter?" "Yes." I closed my eyes. "Belt. Sometimes his fists. Once a metal rod when he was particularly disappointed in me." The breathing behind me stopped entirely. Then Minho's voice, so cold it could have frozen hell. "When?" "Does it really matter?" "When, Jiho?" "Last week. Monday, I think. I broke a glass during a packed dinner." The memory felt distant, like it had happened to someone else. It was expensive, hand-blown, apparently irreplaceable. "So he beat you with a metal rod?" Junho's voice was shaking. Actually shaking. "Over a glass. Over my carelessness. The glass was just the catalyst." "Stop." Soobin moved into my line of sight, dropping to his knees in front of me. His eyes were red, tears tracking down his face. "Stop defending him. Stop making excuses." "I'm not making excuses. I'm explaining context. There is no context that makes this okay." His hands cupped my face, gentle despite the fury in his voice. "You understand that, right? There is no universe where this is acceptable." I wanted to agree, wanted to believe him, but 6 years of conditioning was hard to shake. "I'm not a good Omega," I said instead. "I don't submit, I talk back. I'm aggressive and mouthy and everything an Omega shouldn't be. My father was trying to fix me." "You don't need fixing." Subin's thumbs brushed away tears. I didn't realize I was crying. "You're perfect exactly as you are." "I'm really not." "Yes, you are." His voice was fierce. "You're strong and brave and so goddamn resilient, it hurts to look at you. You've survived 6 years of abuse and you're still here, still fighting, still making sarcastic comments in the face of 3 alpha kings. That's not broken, Jiho. That's extraordinary." The words hit something deep in my chest, something I thought was dead. "I'm scared," I whispered. "Of what?" "Of what happens when he finds out I told you. Of what happens when this doesn't work. Of what happens when you realize I'm not worth the trouble and send me back." "That's not going to happen." "You can't promise that." "I can." Minho's voice came from directly behind me. "I can absolutely promise that. You're under our protection now, Jiho. That means something." Dr. Han cleared his throat softly. "I need to bandage these ribs. This is going to hurt. Everything hurts. What's a little more?" "That's the spirit." The doctor's attempt at lightness fell flat. He pulled supplies from his bag and I braced myself. The first touch of the bandage against my ribs made me see stars. I bit down on my lip hard enough to taste blood, refusing to make a sound. Soobin's hands found mine, threading our fingers together. "You can let it out. You don't have to be strong right now. If I start, I won't stop. Then don't stop. Break, scream, whatever you need. We're not going anywhere." Dr. Han continued rapping, and each pass of the bandage felt like fire. My vision blurred. My breathing went shallow. Soobin's hands were the only thing keeping me anchored. "Almost done," Dr. Han murmured. "You're doing well." "I'm really not." "You're still conscious. That's more than most would manage." He finished the bandaging and moved on to my hands, cleaning the cuts with antiseptic that burned almost as much as the original injuries. I watched him work, disconnected from my own body. "These need stitches," he said finally. "No, Jiho, no stitches. They'll scar anyway." "What's the point?" "The point is preventing infection and promoting proper healing. I've been managing fine without it. You've been managing horribly." Dr. Han's voice was firm. "I'm going to stitch them whether you cooperate or not. You can make this easy or difficult." I looked at Soobin, still kneeling in front of me. "Is everyone in this palace this pushy?" "Pretty much." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "We're very good at not taking no for an answer." "I've noticed." Dr. Han prepared the suture kit. No anesthetic, I noticed. Probably for the best. I'd built up a tolerance to pain anyway. The first stitch pulled through skin, and I focused on Soobin's face instead of the needle. He was beautiful, even blurry with unshed tears. All three of them were identical faces. But I was starting to see the differences. Minho's sharper jawline, Junho's more pronounced cheekbones, Soobin's softer eyes. "Why are you doing this?" The question slipped out between stitches. "Doing what?" Soobin asked. "Caring. You don't know me, I'm nobody. Just the head of security screw-up son who can't even present properly." "You're not nobody." Minho had moved closer, and his hand rested on my shoulder. Warm, grounding. "Your pack. That makes you our responsibility." "Responsibility, right. That's what this is." "That's not," Minho sighed. "This came out wrong. You're not a burden, Jiho. You're not an obligation. You're someone who needed help, and we failed you by not seeing it sooner." "How were you supposed to see it? I'm excellent at hiding." "Too excellent," Junho said from somewhere behind me. "Which begs the question, who else knew?" My hands stilled in Soobin's grip. "Jiho." Junho's voice was closer now. "Who else in this palace knew what was happening to you?" I didn't answer. Someone had to have seen something. Staff members, guards, someone. Still nothing. "They saw, didn't they?" Minho's hand tightened on my shoulder. "And they did nothing. It's not their fault." The words rushed out. "My father is intimidating. People are scared of him. And I never asked for help, so how were they supposed to know?" "They had eyes," Junho cut me off. "They could see you were hurt. They chose not to act. Because acting means going against the head of security. That's career suicide. That's complicity." Dr. Han tied off the last stitch. "All done. Try not to use your hands too much for the next few days. That'll be easy. I'm sure I'll just be lounging around eating grapes and being useless." "That's exactly what you're going to do," Minho said. "Doctor's orders. I have work. You're on medical leave. Effective immediately." "You can't just—" A phone rang, cutting through the argument. Minho pulled out his cell, looked at the screen, and his entire expression went cold. "It's your father," he said quietly. "He's at the palace gates, demanding to see you." My blood turned to ice. "He knows?" The words came out barely above a whisper, but they might as well have been screamed. Everyone in the room went rigid. Minho's thumb hovered over the screen. "Do I answer?" "No." My voice cracked. "Don't. Please don't. Jiho, you don't understand. If he knows I'm here, if he knows I told you—" I couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't voice what would happen if my father got his hands on me again. The phone kept ringing. Soobin's grip on my hands tightened. "He can't hurt you anymore. We won't let him. You can't stop him. Nobody can stop him. Watch us." Junho moved into my line of sight, and his expression was absolutely feral. "Your father has exactly zero power here. He's at the gates. He's not getting past them without our permission. He'll find a way. He always finds a way." The ringing stopped. For exactly 3 seconds, I thought maybe he'd given up. Maybe he'd turn around and leave, and I could pretend this wasn't happening. Then Minho's phone buzzed with a text message. He read it, and his jaw clenched so hard I heard his teeth grind. "What does it say?" Dr. Han asked quietly, still packing up his medical supplies. "He says he knows his son is here. Says there's been a misunderstanding. He wants to come inside and clear things up." Minho's voice dripped with contempt. Claims Jiho is prone to exaggeration and emotional outbursts. Something hot and furious burned through the fear in my chest. Of course he does. Classic Daehyun. Discredit the victim before they can tell their story. It's not going to work. Minho typed something on his phone. I'm telling him to wait at the gates. We'll come to him. We? I tried to stand, but my legs weren't cooperating. There is no we. You three are not confronting my father on my behalf. Actually, that's exactly what we're doing. Junho pulled on a jacket that had been draped over a chair. You're staying here with Dr. Han. The hell I am. Jiho? No. I managed to get to my feet, ignoring the way the room tilted. If you're confronting him, I'm coming with you. This is my fight. You can barely stand, Soobin pointed out, moving to steady me. Then I'll sit, or lean, or dramatically collapse at an opportune moment for sympathy points. I grabbed the shirt Dr. Han had helped me remove, pulling it back on. Every movement hurt, but I dealt with worse. I'm not hiding up here while you three handle my problems. They're not just your problems anymore. Minho pocketed his phone. The moment we saw those scars, they became ours too. That's not how this works. That's exactly how Pac works. His eyes met mine, steady and sure. You're ours to protect now, whether you like it or not. The possessiveness in his voice should have annoyed me, should have triggered every independent instinct I had. Instead, it made something warm unfurl in my chest. I hate that I find that comforting, I muttered. Soobin grinned. Character growth, I like it. Don't get used to it. I'm still planning to be difficult about literally everything else. Wouldn't expect anything different. He offered me his arm. Can you walk, or do you need me to carry you again? I can walk. My legs work fine. It's just everything else that's broken. Dr. Han stepped forward, concern clear on his face. I would strongly advise against this. You need rest, not a confrontation with your abuser. Noted and ignored. I took Soobin's arm, partly for support, and partly because his presence made me feel less like I was about to shatter. Let's get this over with. The walk through the palace felt endless. Every step sent pain radiating through my ribs. My stitched hands throbbed, but I kept moving, kept my chin up, refused to show weakness. I'd spent 6 years being weak, being afraid, being exactly what my father wanted me to be. Not anymore. We emerged into the main entrance hall, and I could see through the massive windows to the gates beyond. A figure stood there, backlit by security lights. Tall, broad-shouldered, familiar in the worst possible way. My father. My steps faltered. We can still turn around, Soobin said softly. You don't have to face him. Yes, I do. I forced my feet to keep moving. If I don't, I'll spend the rest of my life running. The front doors opened and cold night air rushed in. We stepped outside and I could feel my father's eyes on me even from this distance. The walk to the gates felt like walking to my own execution. Minho moved slightly in front of me, a wall of protective alpha between me and my father. Junho flanked my left. Soobin stayed on my right, still offering his arm. We stopped about 10 feet from the gates. My father stood on the other side, hands clasped behind his back in that military stance he never quite lost. He looked calm, composed, concerned. It was all an act. I knew the real him, the one that came out behind closed doors. Jiho. His voice was warm, worried, perfect. What's going on? They said you were hurt. I'm fine. The lie was automatic. You don't look fine. You look exhausted. His eyes shifted to Minho. Your Highness, I apologize for the late hour. I came as soon as I heard my son was brought to the guest wing. If he's caused any trouble, he hasn't caused any trouble. Minho's voice could have cut glass. In fact, he's been remarkably cooperative considering the circumstances. Circumstances? My father's brow furrowed in perfectly practiced confusion. I'm afraid I don't understand. Don't you? Junho stepped forward. Your son was found in the kitchen past midnight, crying and bleeding. When we examined him, we found extensive scarring consistent with long-term physical abuse. My father's expression didn't change. I see. And Jiho told you these scars came from me? The way he said it, so reasonable, so calm, like the very idea was absurd. Yes, I said, finding my voice. Because they did. His eyes finally met mine, and there it was. That flash of cold fury beneath the concerned father mask. Son, we talked about this. About your tendency to exaggerate when you're upset. He turned back to the alphas. Your Highnesses, my son is troubled. He's struggled with his Omega presentation since he was 14. Self-harm has been an ongoing issue. The air left my lungs. Self-harm. He was telling them I did this to myself. That's a lie, my voice shook. That's a fucking lie, and you know it. Jiho, please, you're tired and emotional. These episodes happen sometimes when you don't take your medication. What medication? I'm not on any medication. See? My father's voice was gentle, pitying. He gets confused, forgets things. It's part of his condition. Stop. Minho's command voice rang out. Just stop. We're not idiots, Daehyun. We know what we saw. With all due respect, Your Highness, you saw what Jiho wanted you to see. He's very good at manipulation when he wants attention. Attention! The word burst out of me. I've spent 6 years trying to be invisible. 6 years hiding what you did to me because I was too scared and too ashamed to tell anyone. Now you're being dramatic. I have cigarette burns on my ribs. My voice rose, cracking. Belt marks on my back. Fractured bones from a metal rod. Do you want to see them? Do you want Dr. Han to show you the medical documentation? My father's mask slipped. Just for a second. But it was enough. You had no right to involve outsiders in family business, he said quietly, and the venom in his voice was finally showing. Family business. I laughed, and it sounded slightly hysterical. Is that what you call beating your son unconscious? Family business? I was teaching you discipline. You were torturing me. I was trying to make you into something worthy of the family name. His voice rose, the calm facade cracking. Do you have any idea how humiliating it is to have a son who can't even present as a proper Omega? Who talks back? Who embarrasses me at every turn? Silence fell. He just confessed, and he didn't even realize it. Minho smiled. It was terrifying. Guards, he said calmly. Arrest him. 2 security officers appeared from the shadows, moving toward the gates with practiced efficiency. My father's expression shifted from rage to disbelief in the span of a heartbeat. Your Highness, surely you're not serious. I'm the head of security. You were the head of security. Minho's voice was ice. As of this moment, you're relieved of duty pending investigation into charges of child abuse, assault, and conduct unbecoming of a pack officer. This is insane. You're taking the word of an unstable Omega over mine? I'm taking the word of the medical evidence. Dr. Han has documented every injury, every scar, every broken bone that was never properly treated. Minho stepped closer to the gates. Did you really think you could get away with this forever? My father's face went purple. He's my son. How I discipline him is my business. Not anymore. Junho's voice cut through the night. The moment you drew blood, it became pack business. The moment you broke bones, it became criminal. And the moment you tried to gaslight your way out of it in front of 3 Alpha Kings, you sealed your own fate. The guards opened the gates. My father took a step back. Don't. The word came out of me before I could stop it. Everyone turned to look at me. Don't run, please, just don't make this worse. Something flickered across my father's face. For a second, just a second, he almost looked like the man I remembered from childhood, before I presented, before everything went wrong. Jiho, his voice was softer now. Son, I was trying to help you. You have to understand that. Everything I did was to make you stronger. You broke me. The words came out steady, clear. You didn't make me stronger. You taught me to hate myself, to hide, to believe I deserved every hit, every burn, every cruel word. I took a breath, and Soobin's hand found mine, squeezing gently. But I'm done believing that. I'm done making excuses for you. You ungrateful. Enough. Minho's alpha command rolled out like thunder. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. The guards moved in, pulling out restraints. My father didn't resist, but the look he gave me could have killed. You'll regret this, he said quietly. When they get tired of playing hero, when they realize what a burden you are, you'll come crawling back. And I won't be there. Good. My voice didn't shake. I don't want you there. They led him away and I watched until he disappeared into the darkness beyond the security lights. Part of me expected to feel something. Relief maybe, or vindication. Instead, I just felt empty. Jiho, Soobin's voice was gentle. You're shaking. I looked down at my hands. He was right. My entire body was trembling like I was freezing, even though the night wasn't that cold. Adrenaline crash, I said distantly. Happens sometimes after... My legs gave out. Soobin caught me before I hit the ground, sweeping me up like I weighed nothing. I've got you. This is becoming a habit. My voice sounded strange, far away. You carrying me around like a damsel in distress. You're not a damsel. You're someone who just confronted their abuser while suffering from fractured ribs and blood loss. His arms tightened around me. That's pretty badass, actually. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Please don't. This jacket is expensive. I laughed. It came out broken and slightly hysterical, but it was a laugh. Your jacket. That's your concern right now. I have priorities. But his smile was warm, and his eyes were worried. Minho appeared at my other side, his hand resting on my shoulder. Let's get you inside. You need rest. I need answers. I forced myself to focus through the fog in my head. What happens now? To him? To me? Now we follow pack law. Junho had moved ahead, holding the palace doors open. Your father will be held in custody pending trial. There will be an investigation. Witnesses will be called. Witnesses who ignored what was happening for 6 years. The bitterness in my voice was sharp enough to cut. That'll be fun. They'll answer for their complicity. Minho's tone left no room for argument. Everyone who knew and did nothing will face consequences. We moved back through the palace halls and exhaustion hit me like a physical weight. My ribs hurt. My hands hurt. Everything hurt. But underneath the pain was something else. Something lighter. Freedom. The word felt foreign, dangerous. Like if I acknowledged it too loudly, it might disappear. You're thinking too hard, Soobin murmured. I can literally hear your brain working overtime. Just processing the fact that my father is actually in custody. That he can't, I swallowed hard, that he can't get to me anymore. He can't. We won't let him. You keep saying that. Because it's true. We reached the guest room and Soobin carried me inside. Where do you want to be? Bed? Chair? Dramatically sprawled across the floor? Dramatic floor, sprawling sounds about right for my current mental state. He laughed and set me carefully on the bed instead. Sorry, doctor's orders. You're supposed to rest, not audition for a tragic painting. Dr. Han had left a tray of medications on the nightstand with detailed instructions. Pain relievers, antibiotics, something for sleep that I probably wouldn't take because sleeping meant being vulnerable. You need to take those. Minho nodded at the pills. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're running on fumes and spite. Spite is a very sustainable energy source. Jiho. His voice was firm but not unkind. Take the medication. I wanted to argue. Wanted to prove I didn't need help. Didn't need them. Didn't need anyone. But I was so tired. Fine. I reached for the pills with bandaged hands. But if I get addicted to pain meds, I'm blaming you. I'll accept that responsibility. Junho appeared with a glass of water. Here. I took the pills, swallowed them dry just to be difficult, then accepted the water anyway. The cool liquid felt good against my throat. Silence settled over the room. The three of them were watching me again with those identical, concerned expressions. What? I asked. Nothing. Soobin sat on the edge of the bed. Just making sure you're okay. I'm not going to break if you stop looking at me for 5 seconds. We know that. Minho pulled up a chair. But humor us anyway. You three are planning to stay here, aren't you? Yes, all three said simultaneously. That's weird. Your opinion is noted. Junho settled into another chair. We're staying anyway. I should have protested. Should have told them I didn't need babysitters. Should have maintained some shred of independence. Instead, I just sighed and sank back into the pillows. You're all terrible at respecting boundaries. We're excellent at protecting pack members. Minho's voice was gentle. There's a difference. The medication was starting to work. The edges of my pain were softening, and my eyelids felt heavy. Don't leave, I whispered, surprising myself. We won't. Soobin's hand found mine again. We promise. Promises were dangerous things, but maybe just this once I could believe in one. My eyes drifted close. For the first time in 6 years, I felt safe. The thought should have been comforting, should have let me slip into sleep peacefully. Instead, my eyes snapped open. Safe meant vulnerable. Safe meant letting my guard down. Safe meant someone could hurt me when I wasn't looking. My heart kicked against my ribs, and the spike of pain reminded me why panic attacks were a terrible idea right now. Breathe. Soobin's voice cut through the rising anxiety. His hand was still holding mine. You're safe, Jiho. I promise. Stop promising things. My voice came out shaky. Promises break. Not ours. I turned my head to look at him. He'd pulled his chair closer to the bed, close enough that I could see the concern in his eyes. Behind him, Minho and Junho were watching with matching expressions of protective intensity. You're all still here. We said we would be. Minho leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Did you think we'd leave? People always leave eventually. We're not people. We're your alphas. The possessiveness in his voice sent something warm through my chest. Something dangerous that I absolutely should not be feeling. You're not my anything, I said, but it lacked conviction. You're the alpha kings who happened to find me having a breakdown in a kitchen? Is that what you think this is? Junho's voice was quiet. Coincidence? Obligation? What else would it be? Protection, pack instinct. He paused. The beginning of something that could be more, if you'd let it. My breath caught. More? Yes. You don't even know me. We know enough. Minho's eyes held mine. We know you're brave, strong, resilient enough to survive 6 years of hell and still have enough fight left to be sarcastic in the face of 3 alpha kings. That's just self-destructive behavior with good timing. Soobin laughed softly. See? Perfect. I'm really not. The medication was making me loose-tongued, saying things I'd normally keep locked away. I'm damaged, broken, the exact opposite of what an omega should be. Good. Junho stood, moving closer. We don't want what an omega should be. We want you. The words hit me like a physical thing. Want. They wanted me. Not some idealized version. Not someone fixed and whole. Just me. You're all insane, I whispered. Probably. Soobin's thumb traced circles on the back of my hand. But we're your kind of insane. I don't have a kind of insane. You do now. I wanted to argue, wanted to list all the reasons this was a terrible idea, but my eyes were getting heavy again, and the pain medication was pulling me under. Stay, I heard myself say. Please. Always. Minho's voice was the last thing I heard before sleep claimed me. Something woke me. Not a sound, not a movement. Just the sudden awareness that I wasn't alone. I kept my eyes closed, listening. 3 heartbeats, steady and slow. 3 patterns of breathing. The alphas were still here, keeping their promise. The thought made my chest tight. I opened my eyes slowly. Dawn light was filtering through the windows, painting everything in soft gold. Soobin had fallen asleep in his chair, head tilted at an angle that was going to give him a wicked neckache. Junho was sprawled in another chair, long legs stretched out. Minho was awake, watching me with those dark, intelligent eyes. Morning, he said quietly. You stayed. I don't know why I sounded surprised. They'd promised, but promises were just words, and words broke easier than bones. We stayed. He stood, moving closer to the bed. How do you feel? I did a mental inventory. Ribs still hurt, but manageable. Hands throbbed dully. Everything else was a general ache that I'd lived with for so long it felt normal. Like I got hit by a truck, but the truck felt bad about it. His lips twitched. That's, specific. I'm very in touch with my pain metaphors. I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Oh, okay. Moving is still a terrible idea. Here, Minho helped me, gentle and careful, adjusting pillows behind me. His scent wrapped around me, pine and smoke and alpha, and something in my hindbrain purred with contentment. I shoved that instinct down hard. You don't have to do that, I said. I can manage. I know you can, but you don't have to. He settled on the edge of the bed. That's going to take some getting used to, isn't it? Letting people help. I've spent 6 years learning that asking for help gets you hurt worse. So yeah, might take a minute. We have time. Do you? I looked at him. You're alpha kings. You have actual responsibilities, a pack to run. You can't just babysit me forever. We're not babysitting. We're protecting what's ours. There was that possessiveness again. It should have annoyed me. Should have triggered every independent instinct I had. Instead, it made me feel warm. I'm not yours, I said, but my voice was soft. Not yet. His hand covered mine carefully, mindful of the stitches. But you could be, if you wanted. My heart did something complicated in my chest. You don't want me. Trust me. I'm a mess. So are we. Soobin's voice made us both turn. He was awake, rubbing his neck with a grimace. Told you I'd get a neck ache. Told yourself, I pointed out. I was unconscious during that particular prediction. Details. He stood stretching. Point is, we're all disasters in our own ways. Might as well be disasters together. That's the worst sales pitch I've ever heard. Good thing I'm not in sales. He grinned. I'm in the business of collecting sassy omegas who need excessive amounts of protection and affection. I don't need affection. Everyone needs affection. I'm allergic. To affection? To feelings in general. They give me hives. Junho stirred in his chair, opening one eye. Are you two flirting or arguing? I can't tell. Both, Soobin and I said simultaneously. He snorted. Figures. He sat up properly, looking at me. How are your hands? I flexed them carefully. The stitches pulled but held. Adequate. That's not a real answer. It's the only one you're getting. I looked between the three of them. What happens now? With my father? With everything? Minho's expression grew serious. There will be a formal investigation. You'll need to give a statement. Medical records will be submitted as evidence. And then? Then he faces trial. If found guilty, and he'll be stripped of his position and exiled from Pac territory. Exile, the word felt huge. Final. He'll hate me forever. He already did, Junho said bluntly. The difference is now he won't be able to hurt you. What about everyone else? The Pac members who saw and said nothing? They'll answer for it. Minho's voice was firm. Complicity in abuse carries consequences. Anyone who knew and did nothing will face disciplinary action. They'll blame me. Say I destroyed their lives. You didn't destroy anything. You told the truth. Soobin moved to sit on the other side of the bed. The consequences are theirs to own. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe this would all work out. That justice would be served. That I could actually have a life beyond survival. But hope was terrifying. I'm scared, I admitted quietly. Of what? Of this being temporary. Of waking up and finding out this was just some fever dream, and I'm still in my father's quarters, bleeding and alone. You're not alone. Minho's hand tightened on mine. Not anymore. And this isn't temporary. We meant what we said, Jiho. You're ours to protect. For as long as you'll let us. That's a long time. Good. Soobin's smile was soft. We're patient. Patient. I tested the word like it might bite me. That's code for we'll wait until you're less of a disaster, right? No, it's code for we'll be here regardless of your disaster status. He shifted closer, and suddenly the bed felt smaller, warmer. Though I have to say, your particular brand of disaster is kind of endearing. Endearing. Right, because trauma and trust issues are so charming. The sarcasm definitely is. Junho stood, moving to the windows. Someone's at the door. I tensed immediately. Who? Room service, probably. I ordered breakfast an hour ago. Minho was already moving toward the door. Stay there. Where exactly would I go? I'm held together by spite and medical tape. He opened the door and a staff member I vaguely recognized wheeled in a cart loaded with food. Real food. The kind that smelled incredible and probably cost more than I made in a month. The staff member, Michael I think his name was, avoided my eyes completely as he set up the table. His hands shook slightly. He knew. Of course he knew. Word probably spread through the palace staff like wildfire. The Gamma's son who accused his father of abuse. The Omega who brought down the head of security. Thank you, Michael. Minho's voice was polite but dismissive. Michael nodded, still not looking at me, and practically ran from the room. Silence fell. He's terrified, I said quietly. He should be. Junho's voice was hard. According to staff records, he worked the night shift in the kitchens for the past 3 years. He saw you, multiple times. My stomach clenched, and said nothing. Exactly. How many others? The question hurt to ask. How many people saw and just walked away? Too many. Minho's jaw was tight. But they're being dealt with. Dealt with? That's vague and ominous. It's supposed to be. He gestured to the food. Eat. You need to rebuild your strength. I looked at the spread. Fresh fruit, eggs, toast, bacon, orange juice. Coffee that actually smelled good instead of like burnt regret. My hands started shaking. Jiho? Soobin's voice was gentle. What's wrong? I swallowed hard. I don't remember the last time I had a meal like this. A real meal. Not leftovers or scraps or whatever was left after everyone else ate. The three of them exchanged looks that made my chest tight. That's over now, Minho said firmly. You eat with us. At every meal. No exceptions. I can't just... You can. You will. He pulled a chair up to the table. Come on. Soobin helped me stand, and the world tilted alarmingly. My ribs screamed in protest, but I managed to shuffle to the table without collapsing. Small victories. I sat staring at the food like it might attack me. Start with something small, Junho suggested, pushing a plate of fruit closer. Work your way up. I picked up a strawberry. It was perfect. Bright red, no bruises, probably picked this morning from the palace gardens. I bit into it, and the sweetness exploded across my tongue. My eyes burned. Okay, crying over fruit is a new one, I muttered, swiping at my face with my bandaged hand. That's pathetic even for me. It's not pathetic. Soobin sat next to me, his hand finding my knee under the table. It's human. I hate being human. Being human means feeling things. Feeling things isn't weakness. Tell that to my father. The words came out bitter. He spent 6 years trying to beat the feelings out of me. He failed. Minho's voice was quiet but absolute. You're still here. Still feeling. Still fighting. That's not weakness, Jiho. That's strength. I ate another strawberry to avoid responding. Then another. Then some eggs that tasted like heaven. Toast with real butter. Bacon that was actually crispy. The three of them watched me eat like I was performing surgery. This is weird, I said around a mouthful of toast. The staring thing. Very intense. We're making sure you actually eat, Junho said unapologetically. I'm eating. See? Mouth moving. Food disappearing. Basic biological functions occurring. Smart mouth, Minho observed. It's my best feature. It's definitely in the top 10. Soobin's smile was warm. Though personally, I'm partial to the whole survived 6 years of hell and still has a sense of humor thing. That's not a feature. That's a coping mechanism. Semantics. I kept eating, and slowly the shaking in my hands eased. My stomach stopped feeling like a knot of anxiety. The food settled, warm and grounding. This was real. This was happening. I was sitting at a table with 3 alpha kings who were looking at me like I mattered, like I was worth protecting. The thought was terrifying and intoxicating in equal measure. What are you thinking? Minho asked. That this doesn't feel real. I set down my fork. That any second now I'm going to wake up and this will all have been some elaborate stress dream. It's real. He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. We're real. This is real. How do I know that? Because I'm going to prove it to you. Every single day. Until you believe it. My throat closed up. That's a big promise. I know. Promises break. Not this one. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly it physically hurt. A knock at the door interrupted whatever I was about to say. Minho stood, moving with that alpha grace that probably came naturally to him. He opened the door to reveal Dr. Han, medical bag in hand. Good morning. The doctor's eyes found me immediately. How are you feeling? Like I had a very long night followed by an existential crisis over breakfast fruit. His lips twitched. That's surprisingly specific. May I check your injuries? I nodded and he moved closer, setting his bag on the table. His hands were gentle as they examined my ribs, pressing carefully. The swelling has gone down slightly. That's good. He moved to my hands, removing the bandages with practiced efficiency. These are healing well. No signs of infection. Because nothing says good morning like wound inspection. Would you prefer I wait until afternoon? I'd prefer to not need wound inspection at all, but we don't always get what we want. He smiled slightly, rewrapping my hands with fresh bandages. You'll need to keep these clean and dry for another week. Come back in 3 days so I can check the stitches. Assuming I'm still here in 3 days. You will be. Minho's voice left no room for argument. You're not going anywhere. Dr. Han packed up his supplies. For what it's worth, I'm glad you told someone. I've been treating minor injuries on palace staff for years, but I never. He paused. I never put the pieces together. I should have. You didn't know. I should have looked closer. Should have asked questions. His expression was pained. I failed you. I'm sorry. The apology hit me harder than expected. You're here now. That's what matters. He nodded, but the guilt in his eyes didn't fade. If you need anything, day or night, call me. I mean it. Thank you. He left, and I was alone with the 3 alphas again. Soobin moved behind my chair, his hands resting on my shoulders. Not demanding, just there, present. What do you need? He asked softly. I leaned back into his touch before I could stop myself. Honestly, I need to not think for a while. My brain is exhausted from processing the fact that my entire life just changed in 12 hours. We can arrange that. Junho moved to the couch near the windows. Come here. Why? Because you need rest, and that bed is too formal. The couch is better for not thinking. That's the worst logic I've ever heard. And yet you're getting up. He was right. I was already standing, letting Soobin guide me to the couch. Junho pulled me down next to him, and suddenly I was surrounded by warmth and alpha scent and safety. Minho sat on my other side, his presence solid and grounding. This is weird, I mumbled. You keep saying that, Soobin said from his position on the floor in front of us, because it keeps being true. Get used to it. Junho's arm wrapped around my shoulders carefully. This is your life now. My life. The words felt foreign, but maybe, just maybe, I could learn to believe them. You're thinking too hard again. Soobin's voice drifted up from the floor. I can practically hear the gears grinding. My gears are perfectly maintained, thank you. Your gears are rusty and need oil. He turned to look at me, chin resting on the couch cushion. What's going on in that head of yours? Wondering when the other shoe drops. What other shoe? Minho asked from my left. The one where you 3 realized this was a terrible idea, that protecting me causes more problems than it solves, that I'm not worth the political nightmare my father's arrest is going to create. Junho's arm tightened around my shoulders. Not happening. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because we don't make decisions based on political convenience. We make them based on what's right. His voice was firm, and protecting you is right. Even if half the pack thinks I'm lying, even if they say I manipulated you, even then. Minho shifted closer, and suddenly I was surrounded on all sides by alpha warmth. Let them talk. Let them doubt. We know the truth. The truth doesn't always matter, not when reputation is involved. Your father's reputation was built on lies and fear. It was always going to crumble eventually. Soobin's hand found my ankle, thumb tracing circles above my sock. You just accelerated the timeline. I looked down at him. You're very tactile for someone I met 12 hours ago. Is it bothering you? I considered lying, considered putting up walls and pushing them away before they could get too close. but the touch felt good, grounding, real. No, I admitted quietly. It's not bothering me. His smile was bright enough to rival the dawn light. Good, because I'm very bad at keeping my hands to myself around people I care about. You barely know me. I know enough. His expression grew serious. I know you're brave and strong and so much more than you think you are. I know you survived something that would have broken most people. I know you're sarcastic and funny and sharp as hell, even when you're exhausted and in pain. He paused. And I know I want to keep knowing you. For a very long time. My heart did something complicated in my chest. That's a lot of feelings for 12 hours. Feelings don't follow a timeline. Junho's voice was soft near my ear. Sometimes you just know. Know what? That someone matters, that they're worth fighting for, worth protecting, worth... He hesitated, and I felt his breath against my neck. Worth keeping. The word hung in the air between us. Keeping. Like I was something precious, something valuable, something other than broken. I don't know how to do this, I whispered. How to let people in, how to trust that they'll stay. Then we'll teach you. Minho's hand covered mine carefully. One day at a time. One moment at a time. No pressure, no expectations. Just us. Here. With you. What if I mess it up? Then we'll figure it out together. Soobin squeezed my ankle gently. Relationships aren't about being perfect, Jiho. They're about showing up, being honest, trying. I'm very good at messing things up. Then you'll fit right in with us. Junho's laugh rumbled against my back. We're disasters pretending to be functional alpha kings. That's reassuring. It should be. Means we understand that nobody has it all figured out. I leaned back into Junho's chest, and his arms wrapped around me more fully. Careful of my ribs, gentle with my bandaged hands, but firm enough that I felt held. Safe. The word still terrified me. But maybe that was okay. Can I ask you something? My voice was small. Anything, all three said simultaneously. Why me? Why go through all this trouble for someone who's just nobody? Minho turned my face toward him, his touch gentle on my chin. You're not nobody. You're pack. You're ours. And even if you weren't, he paused. Even if you were just some random omega we found crying in a kitchen, we'd still protect you. Because that's what decent people do. Most people aren't decent. Then be grateful you found us instead of them. His smile was soft. Because we're not letting you go. That sounds vaguely threatening. It's meant to sound protective. Same energy, different font. Soobin laughed, and the sound filled something hollow in my chest. See? This is why we like you. You're funny even when you're terrified. It's a defense mechanism. It's charming. It's annoying. It's perfect, Junho corrected, his voice warm against my hair. You're perfect. I'm really not. Agree to disagree. We fell into comfortable silence. Outside the windows, Portland was waking up. The gardens below were touched with gold light. Birds sang. The world kept turning despite the fact that mine had completely shifted on its axis. What happens now? I asked eventually. Now, Minho considered. Now you heal. Rest. Let us take care of you for once. And then we figure out the rest together. The trial, the pack dynamics, your future. He squeezed my hand gently. But that's all later. Right now you just need to exist, to breathe, to believe that you're safe. I'm not good at any of those things. Then practice. Soobin's grin was infectious. We've got time. Time. The concept felt strange. For 6 years. Time had been measured in hours until my father came home. Minutes until the next punishment. Seconds between breaths when the pain was too much. Now time stretched ahead of me like an open road. Terrifying. Exhilarating. Real. I think I might need a nap, I admitted. My brain is exhausted from processing feelings. Feelings are exhausting, Junho agreed. Sleep. We'll be here when you wake up. You keep saying that. Because it keeps being true. I let my eyes close, surrounded by warmth and alpha scent, and the steady rhythm of 3 heartbeats that weren't my own. This was real. They were real. And maybe, just maybe, I was allowed to have this. Hey, I murmured, already half asleep. Yeah? Soobin's voice was soft. Thank you for not giving up on me, for seeing past the broken parts. The broken parts are just pieces of your story. His hand squeezed my ankle again. And we want to know the whole story. Every chapter. Every page. Even the boring parts? Especially those. I smiled against Junho's chest. You're all ridiculous. And you're stuck with us, Minho said, humor threading through his voice. Stuck. Right, like glue. Like pack bonds, he corrected. Stronger than glue, more permanent. Permanent. The word should have scared me. Instead, it felt like coming home. My breathing evened out. The pain medication from earlier still lingered in my system, making everything soft and hazy. The alphas around me radiated warmth and safety, and something that felt dangerously close to love. Too soon for love, my rational brain whispered, but my heart wasn't listening. Sleep. Jiho. Minho's voice was the last thing I heard. We've got you. And for the first time in 6 years, I believed it. The water had finally stopped running. The tears had dried. The scars would fade. But the 3 alpha kings holding me together, they were just beginning. The end. In the days that followed, Daehyun faced trial and was found guilty on all charges. He was stripped of his position and exiled from Pac territory. The staff members who had witnessed Jiho's abuse and remained silent faced disciplinary action, ranging from formal reprimands to termination. Jiho slowly learned to trust, to heal, to believe he was worth the love 3 alpha kings were determined to give him. And in a guest room turned permanent sanctuary, surrounded by warmth and protection and belonging, he finally learned what it meant to be safe. The scars would always be there, physical reminders of survival, but so would the alphas, and that made all the difference. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe for more.